Hello everyone, I'm Richie. I'm one of your classmates in WS220. Um, Two of my group members will know me, but for those of you who don't, I just wanted to introduce myself and thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to watch this video assignment. To begin this, I will recite the passage that I chose from Darnell Moore's No Ashes in the Fire, Chapter 7, Return. And I needed to know black joy was as palpable as the shared pain that comes from societal rejection. I felt a spark of happiness and self-love that night. It was late, a little after 2 a.m., and I wanted to get home while the buses and trains were still running from downtown Philly to Camden. If I was brave enough to sleep on the streets, amid the free people who seemed to care more about life than other people's opinions, I would have stayed forever just so I could be caught up in the magic. But I had to head home because I didn't want my family to worry. I had already stayed away from home as much as I could, just so that I could live as I pleased. I chose this passage because he talks about leaving his parents out of curiosity to begin the chapter, and I feel like as college students and high school running start students who are getting ready to go to university or whatever we decide to do, leaving our parents' homes out of curiosity and forging an identity for ourselves is so important. Just above the passage I recited, Moore talks about how black, queers, and trans people can be fully present in their bodies from what he witnessed when he left downtown Philly to go to Camden, and they can live without that fear of societal rejection. This is something I can personally relate to, going from a small town in Camas and then to Portland. It's a totally different scene and mix of people and the way people identify themselves, whereas in the small hometown I grew up in, it was a lot of the same people acting the same way, identifying the same type of way. So I can definitely see how he witnessed a whole new scene when he left downtown Philly to go to Camden. And now I will progress to the second part of this video assignment, where I watched the video Rest is Sacred with Octavia Rahim featuring Sean Moore on the Mindful Rebel podcast. I decided to take some time and sincerely reflect about my own rest, self-love, self-worth, self-care, and restoration of my own life. This is something a couple years ago I started to struggle with at the end of high school. I started getting bad anxiety and panic attacks, so this kind of hits home for me. And it's something I became mindful about starting those couple years ago when I started getting those feelings. Right now, I'd say my relationship with self-love and self-worth is still something it's ongoing and something I will continue to work on. And self-care is kind of interesting for me. It's something that I do with friends more than myself. Like, I treat myself when me and my friends go out to either a nice meal or an experience. Like, we went to Topgolf the other week, so that's kind of how I take care of myself personally. When I want to enjoy things, is I go and do it with friends. As a student right now taking courses too, I feel like we can get so caught up with getting good grades that we start to prioritize that over self-worth, self-care, and self-love. And nowadays when I start to struggle with these things, I will remind myself to just breathe, take it slow, and either go for a walk or do something to get me physically active. That helps me clear my mind of negative thoughts and feelings. So I thought I'd just share that tip for anybody who's struggling with anxiety, depression, or not really feeling like their self-worth or self-care is up to par to where they want to be. Okay everyone, thank you for staying with me. I know this video is a little bit long. For part 3 of this assignment, what you are now looking at is my personal manifestation board. It isn't a lot, but I'll give you a second to examine the pictures that you are looking at right now. And this is what I want to internally manifest personally for my own life in 2025, which prioritizes restoration and more practices of self-love for myself. As you can see from my board, these are some of the most important people to me in my life. The first photo on the far left is me hanging out with some of my friends. I've known many of them since elementary, middle, and high school. So is the photo in the middle. It's of me and one of my friends. The second photo on the left is of my mom and sister. And I added the photo of
the door to represent opening myself up in this new year. And I feel like I can start to achieve this by experiencing new things and places, meeting new people, making new friends, and building new relationships. The last photo was of a lock. I added this to my board to represent locking up my previous relationships. And what I mean by this is building upon the relationships that I do already have and value. Basically, maintaining and revisiting them as much as I can. Because as I said before, these people and relationships are vital to my own happiness. So maintaining them is still a priority for me in 2025, even though I've known some of these people my whole life, and as I mentioned, some of my friends since early in my schooling life.
I have some time, so I thought I'd talk about part 4, which isn't required, but particularly interests me because I'm in a psychology class here at Clark, and we also talked about social media. And for myself personally, I am on social media, but I don't really post many pictures because I feel it's invasive. But I don't really have a sense of how many hours I spend on social media, but I do sometimes catch myself mindlessly scrolling and watching videos, which is something I'm still trying to improve on and do a lot less of, as I feel it can be toxic to your mental health. And I also feel that the big 5 social media platforms are also important. And for me, I receive news, as I know many people do, on these social media platforms, but it can also be such a negative thing, as we've been talking about. So many of the isms are not only exist on our social medias, but also can be birthed from them. If that makes any sense. Like Twitter or Instagram, you can see racist posts and tweets, or sexism tweets. So I mean, as much of good social media and can do for us, it also has so many bad and negative side effects. But for some of the positive ones, of course, we are taking an online course right now, and many of the course materials that we use have been online through Canvas or YouTube or Google, reading some of the poems that we just did a few weeks ago. But I feel as a whole, social media is bad, and we're really the first generation to use it. And as I mentioned previously, I'm also in that psychology course, so it's something that I'm very curious in 10, 20, 30 years down the line, how social media has impacted our generation's mental health and other traits and characteristics that have been either hindered or improved by social media and technology. It's something that is going to be really interesting to see. As I was saying, though, in the educational field, I feel like it's become so much more important, especially in these past few years when the COVID pandemic hit. I mean, all schooling went to online, and I feel in the years now, a couple years after it, it's become even more important. And I feel like Canvas as a learning tool here at Clark is really beneficial for every student, no matter if you're taking an online-only course, a hybrid course, or a course at the school. Even courses at the school still use so many online tools to help teach us material, and also for us to send feedback back to our professors. Again, I just want to thank all of you personally for sitting through this with me and listening to my thoughts about some of the questions we were asked. I wish everyone the best right now and in the future. Thank you again.